Welcome to Tya Talk. I am David Strickle, creator of the Tya Mindset Practice. And we are going to talk about appreciation. We talk about appreciation all the time, but appreciation is very important in the Tya practice, very important in life in general. In the practice, we are always seeking to detune our ego and allow more of our source consciousness to be in control of our operating system. And the way that we allow that source consciousness to come through is through appreciation, because source is not about judgment. Source is not about fear. Source is not about limitation. Source is the source of all creation. So source is nothing but pure love, pure well-being, pure appreciation of all creation without judgment. And we are taught so much judgment in our world that, and so much fear, that we really separate ourselves from that source consciousness. And that delivers a contrasting life experience, but we don't have to have the level of contrast that most of humanity is experiencing. We just don't. Certainly, there are challenges that inspire us toward new creation that are happening all the time because of vibrational flow, but the amount of suffering that we create for ourselves in the very judgment of our life journey is what separates us from source. So learning to operate your life as a source driven being, is all about finding appreciation for all that is, especially finding appreciation for exactly the scenario that you are in. Now, I know that we are taught to be dissatisfied with where we are and that we always should want and strive for more. We're expansive beings, absolutely. We always want to experience something new. We need new stimulation. In fact, that's why we go down vibrationally into the lower vibrational territory and create, through attraction, obstacles for ourselves, because we do need those obstacles that come along to stimulate us toward new thought. However, we have taught ourselves to be mired in the judgment of our obstacles and therefore suffer in them. And if you really separate yourself from the egocentric human thought that we call the matrix, if you separate yourself from that chain of thought and really zoom out to what we call the higher perspective, that source perspective that exists in all of us, and we start looking at everything through the lens of appreciation, understanding that every single thing that we encounter is either new creation or it's inspiration for new creation. Everything. If we don't allow ourselves to judge any aspect of our lives any way other than that, and you start saying, okay, that troubling experience that I'm having at work, or that the health problem that I'm experiencing right now, or the traumatic experience that happened to me years ago, if you look at all of that stuff and you're not allowed to say it was bad or it was wrong or it was evil or the universe was trying to teach you a lesson, all that stuff that we tell ourselves, if you don't allow any of that and just think of it as, okay, that is either new creation or it was inspiration for new creation. That's it. If you only allow yourself as an exercise those two opinions about something, well, then that really does take the suffering away, because you realize that everything that you've encountered in your life, if it's something that you once suffered in, that thing is an experience, whatever it is, person, circumstance, event, whatever it is, that is something that you moved through the experience of. And it ultimately made you a more sophisticated version of you because you moved through the experience of it, no matter what it was. But we have all of these things that we're taught to judge and fear, and oh my gosh, you can never appreciate that. It's so wrong. It was so awful. It's so evil. All of that stuff, all of those labels, all of that judgment, none of that is source. None of it is source. All of it is ego. And ego is not in and of itself a bad thing. We need our egos as long as we're in physical. Our ego is our human consciousness that delivers this very imperfect yet expansive human experience. So ego is not bad, but just recognizing what is source and what is ego is very powerful. And that's what we do in the Tya practice. We're detuning the ego, and we are in the detuning of ego, we're automatically allowing more source. Well, fear and judgment and all of that stuff, all of that is of ego, not of source. So remembering that everything is either new creation, I created something new, I had the experience, I know what it's like to have the experience, I solved the problem, I dealt with something, and now I've moved through that experience and I've dealt with it and I understand it on a higher level now. I understand myself on a higher level now. All of that is new creation, all of it. So that is new creation. And then the experience that you had that motivated you toward that new creation was simply inspiration. So play this game in the coming weeks. Play this game with yourself. That every time that one of these fearful or judgmental thoughts bubble up, and they do, that's what vibrational flow does for us. Vibrational flow will take us up, and we're up in appreciation, and we're loving all that is. And then vibrational flow is always going to flow us back down, and we go back down. We're going back into that lower vibrational space. We're not as energized down there. We're not as optimistic down there. We are more apt to jump on the thought train and go down that path of beating ourselves up for not having the things that we want to have, and being and doing all the things that we think we should be being and doing, and all this stuff. That is all lower vibrational activity. It's okay. We all do it. But teach yourself to reframe the experience. So now when you go down into that lower vibrational territory, you're moving down into that appreciation of the inspiration that you are receiving. Even if it's something simple, something tiny, something's just not working in your daily life. Understand that when you get into the frustration of it, you're in the judgment of it. And that's why you're suffering, because you're frustrated, that something's not working right. Why isn't this working right? I don't understand. Well, it's not working right because you're in a lower vibrational state. Solutions are not available in that lower vibrational state. All thought that occurs below neutral on the vibrational spiral, and we have vibrational spiral training here on YouTube that you can find. But if you're below neutral in the vibrational spiral, you are not capable of new thought or new creation. You're recycling. You are recycling thought. You're going back to what happened before. It happened this way before. My ego is telling me that's going to happen this way again. I'm going to judge that. I'm perhaps going to even fear that. And I'm going to create some sort of a roadblock for myself to make sure that I don't suffer again in this experience. So we bind ourselves in all of this judgment and fear of our lower vibrational creations. But you don't have to do that. In the Tya practice, we teach ourselves to experience that lower vibrational period, that downflow of vibration, very differently. Meeting our obstacles in joy, learning to appreciate whatever experience we're manifesting. Even yes, there's a difference between the experience that you're having in the moment and something that is going on in your life that's ongoing. We call that a spin out. But you can appreciate both. You can teach yourself to appreciate both. In fact, if you have a spin out going on in your life, that spin out is present because you are judging it. This shouldn't be. I shouldn't be broke all the time. I shouldn't be overweight. I shouldn't have this medical situation going on right now. All of these should nots that we all have, because humanity teaches us to judge all of this stuff. But the systematic detuning of all of that should not, and moving just into authentic appreciation of what is very powerful, because that actually delivers a more joyful life experience. You want a more joyful day-to-day life where you're not stressed, you don't feel anxiety, you are just simply more joyful just for being alive, without needing any of the 3D stuff the world tells you you're supposed to have to be happy. And we all know, those of us that practice Tya regularly all know that the magic in that is that when you learn to love and appreciate what is, not only do you feel better in the moment, you ultimately solve or unravel anything that is showing up as an obstacle in your life automatically. Because in your appreciation of it, what are you doing? You're allowing that source perspective to reemerge as your dominant vibration, because source appreciates all of it. So when you are appreciating the things that the world tells you you're not supposed to appreciate, you become very powerful, Very, very powerful. Notice people that are living lives and they have things going on in their lives that the world judges as bad or evil or should not be, and they are completely accepting of those elements. Notice the power that those people have because they're not allowing society to tell them that they're less than because of their race or their weight or their economic status or their level of talent or ability or any of those things. They may seem delusional inside the matrix, but they're happy. They're happy people. They're enjoying themselves as they are. They're very comfortable. And notice that people that are really deep in the matrix of judgment and fear and all of that polarity, they are really bothered by those individuals. You can't be happy because you're not XYZ. You've got to be rich. You've got to be famous. You've got to look fantastic. You've got to defy your age. You've got to, all of these things that the Matrix tells us that we're supposed to do. We don't have to do any of that stuff. We can just be joyful for exactly who we are, where we are, and how we are. And when you get to that space of appreciation of you exactly as you are in your now moment, then you are operating in source consciousness as opposed to ego consciousness. And operating in source consciousness is very, very satisfying, extremely satisfying, the most satisfying vibration that you can possibly operate in because it's source, it's eternal, it's all love, it's all appreciation, it's all well-being. And that feeling of everything is always going to work out is always present in that source consciousness. But when you allow your ego to emerge as the dominant driver of your operating system, then you're in anxiety, you're in fear, you're judging yourself, you're judging other people more. You're in that constant angst of humanity. And most of humanity is there. Most of humanity is operating there. But we don't have to. We absolutely do not have to do that. We can absolutely move in developing a practice like the Tya practice is very instrumental in this because we have this chain of thought that just sort of runs on autopilot. Our subconscious mind is just operating our lives on autopilot. That's why you start meditating and doing affirmations and doing these things, you start to see your life change a little bit. You start to see a little more joy. Suddenly more magic starts to show up in your path. And then what happens inevitably is a lot of times we will get sort of, we'll get a little lazy with a new practice and we'll fall off the wagon and we find ourselves right back where we were before. And I talk to people every day that talk about this, even in the Tya practice, because depending on where you are, how deep into the practice you are, we all have this challenge of keeping ourselves aligned with our practice while not allowing external influences to sort of come in and grab us. There's all sorts of things in the 3D matrix of humanity that are designed to instill fear. The unexpected bill, the unexpected expense, this thing that's going to happen that's going to be so bad. You turn on the media, not just news, but social media. Oh, this thing is coming for you and it's going to be really bad when it happens and you need to be fearful about it. That's woven into so much conjecture out there. So it's easy to slip into all of that. It's easy to slip back into old habits. But the nice thing about the Tya practice is there's no rules, there's no right or wrong, there's no judgment in any of it. You always just pick up exactly where you are and move forward. So, okay, I've fallen off the wagon a little bit. I am not meditating every day. I don't sit in joy and appreciation as a system every single day. I've kind of let that slide a little bit. And now I see the negativity start to return to my life. I see myself down in that lower vibrational field more often. And just a few weeks ago, I was up all the time. I hear this all the time. And the lovely thing about this practice is you are in that lower vibrational state when you're sort of judging yourself and coming to the realization that you're not being as on top of your practice as you want to be. You can change that instantaneously. You can raise your vibration and your perspective of all of that changes instantaneously. So to wrap up, I really want to just get into remembering that we are vibrational beings. We are on this vibrational journey. And when we find ourselves down in judgment and fear and anxiety and comparing ourselves to others and all of that, learning to catch ourselves when we're in that space and learning to appreciate exactly where we are. And when we learn to appreciate exactly where we are, we learn to meet those obstacles in joy, because the obstacles don't stop. They slow down. They become fewer and further between as your default vibration goes higher and higher and higher. But they don't completely disappear. We're still going to be vibrational beings. We don't solve that as long as we're human. No one is living a perfect life. We did not come here for perfection. We came here for imperfection, because life's imperfection is exactly what expands our consciousness, and we are here for that expansion of consciousness. So just remember to catch yourself and check in with your vibration throughout the day, and understand that if you're in a lower vibrational state, you're not necessarily going to jump up to the top of your spiral vibrationally instantaneously and celebrate being up there and meet your obstacles in joy. It's a practice. You get a little better at it every single day. And certainly, as you move higher and higher and higher on the vibrational spiral as a default vibration, it gets easier. But in the beginning, it takes a little work. And in the beginning, you've got to remind yourself, oh, I'm DTS right now. I don't feel as energized. I don't feel as hopeful. I don't feel like that something amazing is about to happen. I feel a little bit of um, a little bit of worry, a little bit of disconcern about what's going on in the world in my life right now. That's just where I am vibrationally, and that's okay. I just need to do some appreciation exercises, and that will bring me out of it. And you can do that anywhere. You don't have to be sequestered off in silence with a candle in your meditation chamber. You can do it anywhere. I used to do it in JFK Airport. If I could stand in the security line of JFK Airport and raise my vibration through a little breath work and a little appreciation, not caring about any judgment of anyone around me, I don't even think it's even that noticeable. No one's paying attention to you in JFK, right? But if I can do that, you can do that anywhere. You can do that anywhere in any circumstance. A little bit of breath work, just reconnecting your drawing that breath into your body, sort of reconnecting your body to the energetic realm. That's what breath does. And when you do that, source is already present. Source is not something that is off, that is left you because you're down your spiral. It's right there. Source wants to be realized in those moments. Source wants the return of your focus in those moments. So try these exercises, challenge yourself to be better and better and better at realizing your vibration, and better and better and better at meeting your obstacles in joy, and certainly better and better and better at authentically appreciating exactly where you are. Because when you get to that space of appreciation, everything gets better. And when you love where you are much more likely to move yourself through the experience that you're in. We don't stick ourselves somewhere because we appreciate it. We generally stick ourselves in a situation because we are focused on the wrongness of it. We're judging it, and we are recreating it for ourselves over and over again because we're stuck in that judgment zone. So realize that physical experience will always have a beginning, a middle, and an end. Always. All physical experiences, all of them, come to an end. So we don't try to like hoard things and hang on to things in this practice. We enjoy the beauty and the things that we really appreciate. We just enjoy those things for the experience that they are. And we learn to appreciate the things that are even unwanted because they're our creation. They offer us an opportunity to expand our consciousness eternally. And when we find that appreciation for it, most of these things will solve themselves instantaneously, because we move back into that source state of being, of appreciation, and source solves everything. Thank you so much for watching.